Trump's shut down starvation. Threatening SNAP for $42 million while courts slap him down. Impeachment's door is wide open. This man is a criminal. A terrorist. A mob worse than ISIS. He is danger to civilians, for the love of what's left of this crumbling republic. Here we are again, watching Donald Trump unravel in real time on his digital soapbox. Spewing threats and half-baked conspiracies, like a man who's finally realized the emperor's new clothes are just a threadbare bathrobe. It's November 5, 2025, the morning after a blistering election night that saw Democrats sweep through California, New Jersey, Virginia, and beyond, handing Republicans their hats in a series of races that screamed one unmistakable message. America isn't buying the chaos anymore. And Trump's response? Not a shred of introspection, not a whisper of accountability for the government shutdown that's now dragged into its 6th week, starving federal workers of paychecks, and worst of all, dangling SNAP benefits like a cruel bargaining chip over the heads of 42 million Americans who can't afford to wait for his ego to deflate. No, instead, he's firing off truth social rants, calling last night's results rigged, demanding investigations into everything from California's mail ballots to New York's mayoral upset, and hinting at meetings with GOP senators today to plot his next round of retaliation. This isn't leadership. It's a toddler's meltdown in a nuclear-armed sandbox, and if Congress had a spine left after last year's drubbing, it would be the opening salvo for an impeachment that finally sticks. Let's start with the shutdown, because that's where the human cost hits like a freight train. What began as Trump's petulant standoff over border wall funding back in early October has metastasized into a full-blown crisis, furloughing 800,000 federal employees, shuttering national parks. And now, brace yourself, threatening the lifeline that keeps families from choosing between groceries and rent. SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, isn't some bloated welfare handout. It's the backbone of food security for working poor, seniors scraping by on fixed incomes, and kids in food deserts who rely on those EBT cards to turn school lunches into the main event of the day. Average benefits hover around $350 a month per household, a pittance in this era of $5 eggs and $4 gallons of gas, but it's the difference between a full fridge and a growling stomach for millions. And Trump. In a speech to cowering Republican senators just days ago, he slammed the program's growth over the years, dismissing the hunger crisis unfolding right under his nose as if it were a minor inconvenience, like a delayed tea time at Mar-a-Lago. These benefits have exploded, he reportedly sneered, ignoring how inflation, stagnant wages, and his own trade wars have driven more Americans into eligibility. It's callous, it's calculated, and it's a direct abuse of power. Withholding federal funding for SNAP until Democrats cave on his demands, effectively holding millions of civilians hostage to his grudge match. The mechanics of this outrage are as infuriating as the motive. SNAP's federal funding was set to lapse at the end of October, but thanks to a contingency fund built precisely for emergencies like shutdowns, lessons learned from the 2018-19 fiasco under his first term, the program had a buffer. Enter the Trump administration's USDA, which on November 1 froze those funds entirely, marking the first time in 6 decades that the nation's largest anti-hunger initiative has teetered on the brink of blackout. Federal judges in Rhode Island and Massachusetts slapped that down hard last Friday, ruling the pause unlawful and ordering the use of over $5 billion in emergency reserves. The administration's retort: a grudging promise to cough up just 50% of November's benefits, depleting the contingency pot dry and leaving nothing for new applicants, disaster aid, or the catastrophic consequences of a full cutoff. States like California and New York are scrambling to backfill with their own dollars. Governor Newsom just pledged $500 million from the state surplus, but that's a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. Rural red states, where SNAP usage skews high among Trump's own base, are hit hardest. Think Kentucky coal families or Alabama farm workers, the very folks who voted for him twice, now rationing rice and beans because their president prioritizes concrete barriers over caloric intake. And Trump's social media circus only amplifies the cruelty. Hours after polls closed last night, as results poured in showing Zohran Mamdani crushing the Republican field in New York City's mayoral race, a Democratic socialist vowing to expand rent control and thumb his nose at federal threats, Trump lit up Truth Social with a barrage that would make a conspiracy theorist's keyboard smoke. Rigged election in New York. Mahatma Gandhi wanted to be mayor, but they stole IT from him too. He posted, mangling names and history in equal measure before pivoting to California, where voters passed Proposition 50 to redraw congressional maps and potentially flip 5 GOP seats blue. Giant scam in Kami Kali, under serious legal and criminal review. Stay tuned, he thundered, dispatching DOJ monitors to 5 Golden State counties under the guise of transparency, but really just to sow doubt in a system that's run cleaner than his tax returns. Virginia's gubernatorial win for Democrat Abigail Spanberger. Shut down blame, but really fake votes from illegals. New Jersey's Mickey Sherrill holding her seat. Filibuster must go, or we investigate every ballot. It's not subtle. It's a playbook recycled from 2020. Laced with fresh venom from Project 2025 fever dreams of prosecuting election officials who don't bend to his narrative. These aren't idle tweets, they're preludes to action. Reports are swirling that Trump's White House breakfast with Republican senators this morning, canceled for reporters but leaked like a sieve, isn't about bridging the shutdown divide but about weaponizing investigations to claw back momentum. We're talking DOJ probes into straw donor schemes from the 2024 cycle, now retrofitted to scrutinize last night's outcomes. Demands for voter rolls in blue strongholds like Passaic County, New Jersey, where bomb threats already spooked polling places, and whispers of executive orders to gut mail-in voting nationwide. Despite zero evidence of the fraud he peddles, his own words betray the intent. And so IT begins, he cryptic posted late last night, sandwiched between endorsements for loyalists and jabs at radical left Democrats for the shutdown. This is the man who, in his first term, pressured Georgia's Secretary of State to find votes, who incited a Capitol riot over certified results, who now, fresh off a 2024 win built on turnout he once decried, can't stomach a single off-year loss without crying theft. It's pathological, and it's perilous, eroding trust in elections faster than termites chew through a ballot box. But the real gut punch is how this ties into impeachment territory, a road Trump may finally be too reckless to dodge. Disrespecting courts isn't hyperbole, it's exhibit in a growing file of high crimes and misdemeanors. Those federal judges didn't mince words, the snap freeze was likely unlawful. A blatant defiance of congressional intent and prior precedents from shutdowns under Bush and Obama, where benefits flowed uninterrupted. Trump's Truth Social threat yesterday. SNAP money will be given only when the radical left Democrats open up government. Directly contradicts his administration's court filings promising partial payments, flirting with contempt in a way that echoes his first-term stonewalling of subpoenas. Legal scholars are already buzzing. This isn't just executive overreach. It's a deliberate starvation policy, punishing non-compliant states and vulnerable citizens to force legislative capitulation. House Democrats, still stinging from 2024 but emboldened by last night's wave, flipping state houses in Virginia and New Jersey, holding the line in California, have the votes for articles of impeachment if they unify. Speaker Hakeem Jeffries floated the idea on CNN last night. Abusing the bully pulpit to bully the poor. That's not America, that's authoritarianism, and we're not letting it slide. Picture the scene if it comes to that. A Senate trial where Trump's own words convict him. Clips of his senator speech dismissing SNAP growth while families line up at food banks. Overlaid with footage of empty USDA coffers and judges' gavels pounding for compliance. Unlike 2019 and 2021, when GOP loyalty shielded him through acquittals, the ground has shifted. Last night's results aren't anomalies. They're aftershocks from 2024 narrow victory, where Trump eked out wins in swing states by margins thinner than his patience. Polls show 60% of Americans blame him for the shutdown, independents fleeing the GOP in droves over economic pain, and even Fox News pundits muttering about optics. If Democrats peel off a handful of moderate Republicans, think Susan Collins types, queasy over starving kids, conviction becomes plausible. And this time, no pardon power saves him from the stain. It's a legacy of lawlessness that even his cult can't bleach. Dig deeper, and Trump's unfitness screams from every angle. He's not just losing elections, he's losing the plot, prioritizing vengeance over governance in a nation already frayed by pandemics, inequality, and division he exacerbated. Remember how he solved the 2018 shutdown by declaring a fake emergency for his wall, only to get slapped by courts. This is that on steroids, amplified by a second-term hubris that assumes invincibility. He's starving millions. Yes, millions. Not out of necessity, but spite, because blue states like New York and California dared to vote their conscience last night. Mamdani's win in NYC, with its pledge to defy federal cuts to social services. Trump threatened to withhold billions in aid, a move that could cripple subways, schools, and hospitals. Spanberger in Virginia, campaigning on restoring abortion rights post-Dobbs, cue DOJ reviews of her district's turnout. It's not policy, it's punishment, a threat to civilians that exposes the hollow core of MAGA. All bluster, no benevolence. This man, who once boasted of his very good brain while dodging draft deferments, now treats the presidency like a reality show where losers get evicted from the pantry. Unfit doesn't cover it. He's a clear and present danger. A 78-year-old loose cannon with the nuclear codes and a grudge the size of his inflated net worth. History will record this week not as a blip, but a breaking point. The moment a twice-elected leader chose hunger over humility, threats over transparency, and personal vendettas over the oath he swore. We've seen tyrants in the making before: Nixon's tapes, Reagan's Iran-Contra shadows. But Trump's is a spectacle in slow motion, broadcast live for all to witness. So what now? For the American people, ground game. Flood Senate switchboards demanding full SNAP funding and shutdown relief. Rally at food banks to amplify the voices of those hit hardest. And vote in every local race coming down the pike, because last night's blue wave proves momentum is ours to harness. For Republicans still clinging to the sinking ship, a reality check. Ditching the shutdown charade and Trump's coattails might salvage your souls before November 2026 turns you into a museum exhibit. And for Trump himself, step back from the ledge or history will push you off. This isn't winning. It's wilting under the weight of your own worst impulses. America deserves better than a leader who'd rather let children go hungry than admit defeat at the ballot box. We've endured enough. Time to end this farce before it devours us all. But let's not stop at the outrage. Let's dissect the hypocrisy that fuels it, because Trump's playbook thrives on double standards so blatant they could double as funhouse mirrors. Take his railing against SNAP's explosion. Benefits have indeed risen, from $55 billion in 2016 to over $120 billion projected for 2025, but that's not freeloader fever, it's fallout from his policies. The 2017 tax cuts that ballooned deficits for the top 1%. They jacked up food prices through supply chain snarls. The trade wars with China that hammered farmers in red states. Those same farmers now queue for SNAP while Trump golfs with agribusiness donors. And the COVID relief he signed in 2020, which temporarily supercharged benefits to keep the economy afloat. He touted it as his genius stroke, only to flip when it sustained Democratic strongholds. It's selective amnesia. Praise the program when it pads your poll numbers, demonize it when it emboldens opponents. Layer on the election meddling, and the pattern sharpens into a stiletto. Trump's DOJ, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, a loyalist who auditioned for the role by echoing his 2020 lies, has pivoted from voter suppression cases to integrity, hunts that target blue enclaves. Yesterday's monitors in California weren't about fairness. They were theater, echoing his 2024 demands for preservation of data in battlegrounds, a tactic straight from Project 2025 authoritarian wishlist. That blueprint, penned by Heritage Foundation hacks, urged weaponizing a Reconstruction-era law to prosecute election helpers, think poll workers or registration drives, as criminals. We've seen previews, probes into Act Blue straw donors. From April, netting foreign IP pings but zero systemic fraud. Audits in Michigan uncovering 15 non-citizen votes out of 5.7 million, a rounding error he inflates to epidemic. Now, post-2025 losses, expect escalations. Subpoenas for New York turnout logs. Reviews of Virginia's absentee envelopes, all while his own 2024 win, buoyed by mail ballots he now decries, goes unquestioned. It's not justice. It's jujitsu, flipping the system to shield his flanks. The civilian threat here isn't abstract. It's visceral, etched in the faces of those affected. Consider Maria Gonzalez, a hypothetical but all-too-real single mom in Fresno, California, juggling 2 jobs and 3 kids. Her EBT card half empty this month because USDA logistics lagged under shutdown strain. Or Jamal Washington in Newark, New Jersey, a veteran whose partial SNAP payout means skipping meds to buy formula, all while Trump tweets about winning last night's governor's race loss. These aren't statistics. They're stories, the human collateral in a war of one man's will against the welfare state. Economists warn of ripple effects. A 50% SNAP cut could spike hunger by 20%, tank local grocers' sales, and cost 100,000 jobs in food distribution, hitting Trump's Rust Belt base hardest. Yet he persists, because in his zero-sum worldview, their suffering is leverage, their vote's optional if they don't deliver adoration. Impeachment isn't a pipe dream, it's a pressure cooker, valves hissing after last night's steam release. Democrats hold the House by a slim but steely margin, with freshmen like Becca Balint in Vermont and Greg Casar in Texas, both SNAP beneficiaries in past lives, primed to lead the charge. Articles could drop by Thanksgiving. Count 1, abuse of power via SNAP weaponization. Count 2, obstruction through court defiance. Count 3, incitement of unrest via election disinformation. Senate math is trickier. McConnell's caucus fractures on fiscal cliffs. But Collins, Murkowski, and maybe Tilley's could flip if public fury peaks. Polling already shows 55% support for ending the shutdown unconditionally, with SNAP as the flashpoint. Trump's defiance. It invites the 25th Amendment whispers from his own cabinet, a mutiny he's courted with every unhinged post. Zoom out, and this is the Trumpism in game. A presidency unmoored from norms, where power serves the powerful and the rest fend for scraps. We've chronicled the arc, from lock her up. Chants to January 6 scaffolds, from emolument scandals to Ukraine quid pro quos, and now it culminates in starving the needy to spite the electorate. But cracks show. Elon Musk's Doge efficiency czars balking at SNAP cuts for optics. Newsom's lawsuits piling up like cordwood, even Tucker Carlson's nightly monologues questioning the shutdown strategy. Last night's elections weren't flukes. They were feedback, voters in deep blue havens like NYC rejecting Trump's foil candidates, in purple swing states like Virginia punishing his proxy wars. As the sun sets on this disastrous day, one truth endures. Trump isn't losing it. He's lost it. A relic raging against a republic remaking itself without him. Let the investigations roll, not his sham probes, but real accountability from Capitol Hill to the court of public opinion. Let Snap flow full, the shutdown shatter, and democracy reclaim its hunger for justice. We've survived worse. We'll starve this beast of its oxygen yet. The people have spoken. Now make him listen or make him leave. Love always. Santiago, D.C., Maria.